Hello everyone and welcome to the Pirates vs. Ninjas Warlock card showcase. Let's get right into the cards. First up we have Energy Imp, 1 mana 2/3 demon, Death Rattle, destroy one of your mana crystals. It's a simple 1 mana 2/3, and on 1 mana 2/3 it's got to have a downside. This downside is pretty large. Destroying one of your mana crystals is not something you want to be doing on the average day. It's very comparable to something like whatever that card is I can't quite remember the name of because it's not very popular, but it's 3 mana 3/5 Battle Cry, destroy one of your mana crystals. It is 1 mana cheaper than it should be for its stats, but it destroys one of the mana crystals. And is that worth it? Maybe not. However, this one is a Death Rattle, so it can be silenced away. You know, you can put this in the famous Warlock Wailing Soul deck, for example. Let's move on to the next card. We have First Mate, Under the Song, 2 mana 2/4 Pirate, Battle Cry, discard a random card. If that card was a pirate, gain +1/+1. So what we're looking at here is potentially a 2 mana 3/5. Now that is a hugely strong minion for only 2 mana. However, you have to discard a card, and it has to be a specific type of card for that to happen. So now you have to be playing Warlock Pirate, which really is not the kind of thing you hear every day, and also not the kind of thing you think, yeah, that's gonna work. Because Warlock Pirate, you know, Warlock doesn't really have weapons. Pirates tend to like weapons, and a lot of pirates are really bad unless you have weapons. So you're really kind of gimping yourself by trying to play Warlock Pirate deck. However, this card is so strong that it might just be worth it. Next up we have Ninja Imp, 1 mana 0/1 demon, stealth, instantly comparable to Blood Imp. However, unlike Blood Imp's health buff, this says at the start of your turn give a random friendly ninja +2 attack. So instead of giving a health buff to any minion, this one gives a very good attack buff to only ninjas. And really, it is an incredibly strong card. It's a recurring abusive sergeant. However, the problem is that it is not proactive. It is at the start of your turn. So you're going to have to play another ninja and wait until the start of your turn to get the ball rolling with a card like this. But it is insanely strong and would be an auto-include for sure in any Ninja Warlock deck. Next up we have the first rare, Mana Overwhelming. 1 mana, deal 5 damage to a minion, destroy one of your mana crystals. This card is really quite good. It's very good in a control deck, believe it or not, because in a control deck, you can play this at turn 10, and it has no downside. It's 1 mana, deal 5 damage to a minion, and that's really good in a control deck, and at turn 10 there's no downside, because you get the mana crystal back right away. In an aggressive deck, it's also very good, because you play it, and all your cards are so cheap that the mana crystal doesn't matter quite as much, and it just gives you a huge tempo swing for just 1 mana, and the mana crystal just doesn't really bother you. Next card we have is 2 mana 3/3 Ninja, Knave of the Darkness, Battle Cry, discover a card in your hand, discard it. So this card twists the discover mechanic a little bit. Instead of actually getting the card, you know, to keep, to add to your hand, you discard the card that you pick. So you're looking at cards in your hand, and you're discarding it. It's a way of manipulating which card you do discard in a discard style deck. It also has a ninja, so it has a little bit of ninja synergy, but more importantly it has discard synergy. You can, in your hand, have a few cards. You know, one of them is Fist of Jaraxxus, 4 mana. When this card is discarded, deal 4 damage to a random enemy. You can have that card in your deck, and this card, when you play this card, that card is available as one of the 3. You pick it, and then this is a 2 mana 3/3, deal 4 damage to a random enemy. That is really good. That is insanely good. That is broken. And even if you do get a really bad set of things to discover, if you get 3 cards you really don't want to get rid of, you still get to pick which one will be the worst, you know, well, which one is the worst card, not which one is the worst to get rid of. But you get to pick the card that you want to get rid of the most, and you still get a slightly better minion. You get a 2 mana 3/3 instead of a 2 mana 2/3 or 3/2. A very solid card here all around. Next up we have Demonic Caller, 5 mana 3/4 demon. Whenever you discard a demon, summon it instead. So what you have here is a very weak static minion. It's 2 mana more expensive than it should be for the stats, but its effect just swings things around so quickly. You can put this in your demon deck, and really, you know, there's so many cheap demons that discard cards. There are so many demons that are pretty good, and really just the ability to play 10 mana, Demonic Caller, Doomguard, summon 2 random demons, have a 5/7 with charge. It breaks everything. That single combo is worth putting a Demonic Caller in your demon deck, and even just putting a Demonic Caller in the deck is just good. It really is, because it's a big threat. If you have discard cards in your hand, Even if you don't, for that matter, your opponent is going to want to kill this for the fear that you might. Because the threat of you getting to summon a bunch of demons for free and negate the downside of your other demons is bonkers. The kind of threat that they have to deal with. Next up, we've got Energy Giant. 12 mana, 8/8. Costs 2 less for each mana crystal you've created or destroyed this game. So this card synergizes very well with 2 cards in the set. The Mana Overwhelming and the Energy Imp, both of which destroy your mana crystals, as well as Felguard, the 3 mana 3/5 taunt that nobody uses, that destroys one of your mana crystals. It also synergizes with Arcane Golem, which gives your opponent a mana crystal, and when you play all those cards in a deck, you are getting a lot of tempo swings, but prior to a card like this existing, it just wasn't worth it, because the mana, you just lost too much by playing those mana cards. But when you have a card like this, you play the Energy Imp turn 1, you play, I don't know, I guess another Energy Imp turn 2, you play an Arcane Golem turn 3, you play a Felguard, you play a... Actually, wait, that wouldn't even work because your mana is going to get destroyed. Let's say you play an Energy Imp turn 1, it gets destroyed. You play another Energy Imp, it gets destroyed. You still have 1 mana. You play Mana Overwhelming, you kill something, you have no mana. And then eventually, this is only 6 mana at that point, It's going to be like turn 8 before you get there. But hey, in theory, it's a cheap 8/8. In theory. So, in your I'm assuming incredibly aggressive mana crystal creation / destruction deck, you're gonna get a lot of good stuff in this. And if you ever get this as a druid, it's gonna be even better. So you know what? Druid card in disguise right here. But even in Warlock, it does have enough synergy that a deck can easily be built around it. Whether it's good or bad is up for you to decide. Next up is Siren of the Sea. 7 mana 2/2, Battlecry. Take control of an enemy minion, an insanely strong effect. Of course the body is weak, but the effect is very much so worth it, but the death rattle, you return it. So what you're getting here is a temporary mind control. A mind control that is permanent if your opponent cannot kill a 2/2. Of course, it is unlikely. This is probably the kind of card that in an aggro matchup, since you're not going to put this in your own aggressive deck, you're going to put this in your control Warlock, maybe your Reno lock. You put this in, you take control of an enemy minion, and you hope your opponent can't kill it. Maybe you put it in for the very, very late game. Whatever you do, you can also, of course, combo it with silences and other such things. Also, stealing things like taunts and charges is very good with this, as you can immediately attack with the charges, try to kill it or weaken it, and you can also use the taunt to protect the Siren herself, both of which are good plans. However, silencing it is of course the most reliable, as playing, for example, this plus Ironbeak Owl is essentially a mind control with the addition of a 2/2 and a 2/1 at the cost that it required 2 cards. Of course, you can also use Thaurissan and try to get Spellbreaker. However, Siren of the Sea is definitely a powerful card, even if it's very likely your opponent is going to get their minion back. Lastly, we have the Warlock Legendary, Niby The Almighty. 4 mana 2/4. If you discard this minion, shuffle it back into your deck, and give it +4/+4, and Stealth. So what you have here is the kind of card you want to discard, of course, and it's also the kind of card you can discard more than once. You discard it once, it's a 6/8 for 4 mana, and it has Stealth. Fantastic. You discard it twice, it's a 10/12 with Stealth for 4 mana. In that sort of discarding Warlock deck, this is just a huge minion you can play. You discard it a bunch of times, it's huge. It's a big minion. You play it, and then it has Stealth, so it's protected, and you can hit the face. You can kill the opponent with it, since you've probably been very aggressive with all your discarding mechanics. And overall, it really is just that sort of, it's the important and looming threat in a discard deck. Because what you want is for this to be in your opening hand and for you to discard it, because discarding it, unlike discarding other cards, is not a downside. It's a good thing that you discarded it, and then you want to draw it later, and even if you get only 1 discard off, it's still a 6/8. It's still insanely good, and the downside of discarding a card wasn't quite as big, because you discarded something and benefited you. So that's Niby the Almighty, and that is the last Warlock card for Pirates vs. Ninjas. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.